When I walked into my millionaire husband's luxury Florida office to surprise him, I expected a smile, maybe a kiss, maybe the man I thought I knew. What I found instead was a secret life, polished lies, hidden rooms, quiet whispers, and a version of him I was never meant to see. The betrayal that followed cracked something inside me I didn't know could break. But the deeper I dug, the more I realized his secrets weren't just personal, they were dangerous. And in the end, exposing him wasn't just revenge, it was survival. I still remember the Florida heat that morning, heavy, humid, almost sticky against my skin, the kind of heat that makes you feel like the universe is whispering, pay attention. But I didn't. I was too excited. Too hopeful. Too blind. My name is Madison, and this is the story of the day I walked into my husband's world and realized I had never actually been part of it. Robert always left before sunrise. That morning, I woke early too, for no real reason. Maybe instinct. Maybe something deeper. Maybe the quiet fear every wife carries, the fear that one day you'll discover you were loving a stranger. I made him breakfast like I always did. And like always, he kissed my forehead, murmured something about meetings, deadlines, numbers that only millionaires pretend matter more than people. Then he left. But today I decided to follow. Not for suspicion. Not for doubt. But because I missed him. Because our marriage had become a blur of schedules and brief goodnights. Because I wanted that spark back, the one we promised each other years ago in that tiny church by Clearwater Beach. I wanted to surprise him. So I got dressed, a simple white dress, nothing fancy, and drove toward his office tower in downtown Tampa. That gleaming glass monument he called the ecosystem of innovation, whatever that meant. The entire drive, I rehearsed my little surprise speech. Hey, you work too hard. Thought I'd steal you for lunch. Remember me? Your wife? I practiced smiling in the rearview mirror. Funny how people smile without realizing it's the last time they'll look innocent. When I arrived, I parked underground and took the elevator up to the lobby. The building smelled like new carpet and money, that's the only way I can describe it. People in suits moved like they were late to something important. Phones buzzed. Heels clicked. No one made eye contact. It was a world of polished masks, and then I felt it, that first tug of hesitation. A small, sharp instinct. Turn around, Madison. Go home. But I didn't. I should have. God, I should have. The receptionist looked up as I approached. Young. Beautiful. Sharp features. Perfect hair. Her eyes flickered with something. Not quite recognition. Not quite surprise. Something else. Oh, she said, clearing her throat. Mrs. Aldridge. I smiled. Is he in? I was hoping to surprise him. She hesitated. A little too long. A little too visibly. Yes, he's in. 11th floor. I'll call ahead. Call ahead? Why? Why would surprising my own husband require a warning? But again I brushed it off. Because love makes you stupid. Because trust makes you blind. I rode the elevator alone, the music soft and irritatingly cheerful. My reflection in the glass looked calm, which is ironic, because inside my stomach was tightening for reasons I couldn't explain. The doors opened to another lobby, marble floors, gold accents, the kind of design that says I matter more than you. Robert always loved that aesthetic. I walked down the hallway toward his office, the big one at the end, with the glass walls and the sweeping view of the bay. I raised my hand to knock. But then, I heard something. Not talking. Not movement. But laughter. A woman's laughter. Soft. Close. Inside his office. My hand froze midair. My heartbeat stuttered. A cold, nauseating feeling spread through my chest. I told myself it meant nothing. An assistant. A colleague. Someone asking him about a project. But then the laughter grew louder, followed by his voice, lower, warmer, a tone he didn't use with me anymore. Something cracked inside me, just a little. What if I told you the moment a marriage truly breaks isn't when you find proof, but when suspicion finally feels justified? I swallowed hard, smoothed my dress, and pushed the door open. The room fell silent instantly. Robert was sitting behind his desk, leaning a little too close to a woman in a navy blue dress with legs crossed like she knew they were being admired. She looked at me with a startled stiffness, but not guilt. Not discomfort. More like annoyance. Oh, Robert said, standing abruptly. Madison. What are you? I came to surprise you. The room felt colder the moment those words left my mouth. The woman straightened, closing a file with deliberate calm. "I'll give you two a moment," she said. I watched her walk out confident, unbothered. Like she already knew something I didn't. The door clicked softly behind her. Robert forced a smile. "That was unexpected. You're upset." "No," I said. "Just surprised." "Surprised?" he echoed, glancing at the door like he wanted to follow her. And that's when my heartbeat shifted. It wasn't nervousness anymore. It was awareness. Cold, sharp awareness. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "Who is she, Robert?" His jaw flexed. "A consultant. And why was she laughing in your office like you told her something intimate?" "Madison." He exhaled, annoyed. "You're reading into things again." That word, again. He said it like it was a habit. Like I was the unstable one. He walked behind me and closed the blinds on both glass walls. Something he had never done before. My stomach dropped. Husbands don't hide their wives from public view. Unless the truth is already spreading. "Let's go to lunch," he said quickly. "Somewhere nice." My treat. My treat. As if the money wasn't ours. As if I was a guest in his life. I tried to breathe, but every inhale felt tight. And then, his phone buzzed on the desk. A message. From L. I shouldn't have looked. I wouldn't have. If he hadn't lunged to snatch it. "What was that?" I asked quietly. "Work," he snapped. "Then why hide it?" He didn't answer. Because the truth was already unraveling in the room around us like smoke. I stepped backward toward the door. "I just wanted to surprise you," I whispered. "You did," he said coldly. Then he added something so soft I almost missed it. "But not soft enough. You shouldn't come here unannounced." A chill crawled up my spine. "Why not?" I asked. His eyes flicked toward the door the woman had walked through. And that's when I felt it. The first spark of fear. Not fear of losing him. Not fear of betrayal. Fear that whatever life he was living here did not include me at all. I walked out of his office that day with my heart pounding in my throat, but the real shock came seconds later, when the elevator doors closed, and I heard two employees whispering behind me. "Does his wife know?" "She can't. No one tells her. Poor woman. She thinks he's faithful." And that was the moment I realized. My husband wasn't just hiding a woman. He was hiding an entire life. If you've ever been blindsided by someone you trusted, please subscribe. Don't be like me, walking into heartbreak unprepared. And if you choose not to, at least go to the comments and explain why. Maybe saying it out loud will keep someone else from repeating my mistake. When the elevator doors slid shut, I felt like they were sealing me inside a truth I wasn't ready to face. My reflection on the metal walls looked pale, almost ghost-like. That's the thing about betrayal, you don't process it all at once. It seeps in slowly, through tiny comments, glances, moments you try to dismiss. And the whisper I overheard upstairs? "Does his wife know?" "She can't. No one tells her." Poor woman. Those words dug deeper than anything Robert said. Because strangers don't pity you unless the truth is already public. The elevator stopped at the 5th floor, but no one entered. It was just me alone with my spiraling thoughts and the faint hum of machinery. Shouldn't come here unannounced. Why would a husband say that unless he had something to hide? Someone to hide? But I forced myself to breathe. To think rationally. To give him the benefit of doubt. Because love makes you apologize for storms you didn't cause. When I stepped out into the main lobby, I walked toward the glass doors quickly, desperate for air. The Florida heat rushed at me like a slap. I inhaled deeply, grounding myself. Just go home, Madison. Talk to him later. Calm. Logical. Adult. But when I turned toward the parking garage, I slowed. Because two employees were standing by the fountain, the same ones from moments ago. I didn't want to hear anything else. I swear I didn't. But their voices drifted over anyway. "I can't believe she showed up. He's gonna be furious." "Yeah, especially with her there. They said it's getting serious. He's been different with her. Everyone can see it." I felt dizzy. The ground didn't feel stable. Like my whole life was shifting beneath my feet. I wanted to confront them. Ask who they meant. Ask for the truth. But I walked past, pretending I didn't hear a word, because admitting you heard it makes it real. And I wasn't ready for real. Not yet. I reached my car and sat inside with the engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles whitened. How long had this been happening? How long had people known? How long had I been the joke? I wasn't crying. Not yet. Tears require acceptance, and I wasn't there. But the silence inside the car felt heavy, like it was waiting for me to break. I drove home slowly. Every traffic light felt too long. Every song on the radio felt wrong. My mind kept replaying Robert's tone. The coldness, the annoyance, the quick move to close the blinds. He had never done that. Not once. Not in all the years of our marriage. He used to show me off proudly. Now he hid me like a secret. When I reached our house, that perfect waterfront home, he insisted on buying. Everything looked staged. Too neat. Too curated. A life snapped into place for the sake of appearances. I walked inside, kicked off my shoes, and dropped my keys into the ceramic bowl on the console table. That's when I noticed something. A second wine glass. Still sitting on the kitchen counter. Lipstick on the rim. Not my shade. My breath caught. I picked it up slowly, like it might bite. Robert didn't drink wine alone. He wasn't the type to pour drinks without company. And I definitely hadn't poured that. How long? I whispered to the empty room. My voice sounded small. Scared. Unfamiliar. The moment I set the glass down, my phone buzzed. It was him. Robert, why did you come to my office today? Not, are you okay? Not, let's talk. Not, I'm sorry. Just annoyance. Defensiveness. Distance. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew if I said anything now, I'd say the wrong thing. Instead, I went upstairs, closed the bedroom door, and sat on the edge of the bed. The house felt too quiet. Quiet is dangerous when your thoughts are loud. Hours passed. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky orange and pink colors that should have felt warm but only made me feel hollow. I tried cooking dinner. I tried reading. I even tried showering to clear my head. None of it worked. Night wrapped itself around the house like a warning. Robert still wasn't home. At 11:18 p.m., the front door finally opened. I heard him toss keys onto the console table, not gently, but with that irritated flick he used when he didn't want to be questioned. I stayed quiet, listening. He walked upstairs, his footsteps slow, measured, guilty. When he entered the room, he didn't look at me at first. Just loosened his tie, unbuttoned his shirt, exhaled deeply. Madison, he said finally, rubbing his eyes. Today wasn't okay. I just wanted to see you. You embarrassed me. Anger lit inside me, small but sharp. Embarrassed you? I whispered. I'm your wife. And you don't just show up, he repeated. Why not? He hesitated. Too long. Too telling. Business, he said simply. You wouldn't understand the dynamics. I stared at him like I was seeing him for the first time, not a husband, not a partner, but a man building walls faster than I could climb them. I couldn't help but notice, I said quietly. There was a woman in your office today. He froze. Only for a second, but enough. Her name is Elle. He stopped. Corrected himself quickly. Lauren, he said. A consultant. That's all. Why was she laughing with you? Madison, don't start. I'm asking. He ran a hand through his hair, agitated. She tells jokes. People laugh. It's normal. But something in his tone told me he wasn't frustrated by my questions. He was frustrated. I witnessed something I wasn't supposed to. He turned away, walked to his dresser, and pulled out gym clothes. Where are you going? I asked. Late workout. At midnight? It helps me think. He grabbed his phone from the nightstand. And I swear, I wasn't trying to snoop. I truly wasn't. But the screen lit up as he lifted it, and in that brief flash, I saw one name. Elle. Another message. My heart dropped. Maybe Elle wasn't Lauren. Maybe Elle wasn't a consultant. Maybe Elle wasn't someone he barely knew. Maybe Elle was the woman everyone thought I already knew about. Robert turned quickly, as if he realized he'd slipped. Don't wait up, he said. Then he left. The door closed softly, too softly for a man with nothing to hide. I sat in the dark bedroom, listening to the echo of that door clicking shut. That sound was louder than a confession. After he left, I lay back on the bed and stared at the ceiling, trying not to cry, but the tears didn't come. Instead, My phone buzzed. A text. A number I didn't recognize. When I opened it, my hands went cold. Unknown. You deserve better than him. My stomach twisted. Before I could respond, another message came through. Unknown. If you want the truth, ask him where he really goes on Wednesday nights. I sat up, breath catching. Wednesdays. He always said late meetings. Always came home past midnight. Always smelled like a cologne that wasn't his. I stared at the screen, frozen. Who sent this? How did they know? What were they trying to warn me about? I typed back slowly. Me. Who is this? The 3 little dots appeared. Typing. Typing. Then they disappeared. No reply. Silence. But that silence was heavy with new knowledge, the kind that changes everything. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Because as I lay awake, I realized something chilling. Robert wasn't just cheating. He wasn't just lying. He had patterns. Schedules. Hidden rituals. Wednesday nights. Phone messages from L. Co-workers whispering. Wine glasses that weren't mine. And the unknown texter who somehow knew more than I did. Something was happening behind my back. Something bigger than an affair. Something people were afraid to say out loud. And I hadn't even uncovered the worst part yet. If you've ever felt that twisting fear in your chest, the fear that someone you trust is living a life you're not part of, subscribe. Don't wait until the truth crushes you like it crushed me. And if you don't subscribe, head to the comments and tell me why. Maybe facing your own truth there will save someone else. I didn't know it then, but that anonymous text was the match. A small spark dropped into a life I assumed was stable. A life that was already soaked in gasoline. Ask him where he really goes on Wednesday nights. Those words spun around my mind like a warning I wasn't ready to hear. And yet, I couldn't ignore it. By the time the sun began to rise, I had made a decision, the kind that changes the entire direction of your life. I was going to find out the truth, not gradually, not gently, but in one clean, devastating cut. Because once the seed of doubt takes root, trust rots from the inside. At 7 a.m., I heard the garage door open. Robert always moved quietly after coming home late, the kind of quiet that tries too hard not to be suspicious. He walked into the bedroom still wearing his gym clothes. No sweat. No gym smell. Just the faint scent of a perfume that didn't belong to me. I watched him silently as he peeled off his shirt. He didn't notice. Or maybe he did and didn't care. Morning, he said with forced brightness. Morning. He paused. Looked at me. Studied my face. Did you sleep? Barely, I said. He nodded slowly. Too slowly. Like he was calculating a reaction. Well, you should nap later. That was it. No curiosity. No concern. Just a dismissive pat on the surface of a sinking ship. I should have asked him then. Should have demanded answers. But I didn't. Instead, I watched him move around the room, casual, controlled, careful. As if nothing in his world was crumbling. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe he'd already built himself a new world. One I wasn't part of. I walked downstairs after he left for work. The house was too quiet, painfully so. Coffee helped. A little. But as I stood by the kitchen island drinking it, my eyes drifted again to the wine glass from the night before. I lifted it again. Traced the lipstick stain. A deep airy shade. I hadn't worn lipstick in days. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't overthinking. This was evidence. And once you see evidence, you can't unsee it. My phone vibrated on the counter. A voicemail. From an unknown number. My heartbeat quickened as I pressed play. It was a woman. Soft voice. Slight tremble. Someone who sounded like she was scared of being caught. Madison. I don't know how to say this, but you need to look at his calendar. Not the one he shows you. The one he hides in his work account. The password is the same one he uses for everything. Everyone in his life seemed to know more about him than I did. The message ended abruptly. No name. No details. Just another piece of a puzzle someone clearly wanted me to see. Why? Why help me? Why now? I clicked on his old laptop, the one he barely used at home. It took a few tries to guess the password. The same one he uses for everything. Our wedding date. The audacity. When the desktop finally loaded, I opened his email. Nothing unusual. But when I clicked on the calendar icon, a second calendar appeared. One tucked beneath the first. Unlabeled. Private. A chill ran through me. I clicked. The screen filled with entries carefully coded, color-marked, organized, a double life built inside squares and time blocks. Wednesday. L meeting. L personal. L dinner. The entries repeated every week. Same time. Same name. Not Lauren. Not consultant. Just L. Short. Secretive. Intimate. My chest tightened. My fingers trembled on the trackpad. And then, the appointment that ended any chance of rational explanation. L anniversary dinner. Anniversary. Dinner. What anniversary? What date? What relationship? My vision blurred for a moment. My breath stuttered in my throat. I wasn't imagining this. I wasn't spiraling. I was staring at the truth neatly scheduled, every Wednesday. Wednesday was tonight. Whatever Robert had planned, whoever he was meeting, it would happen again in less than 12 hours. This was my chance. Maybe my only one. I closed the laptop, walked to the bathroom, and stared at myself in the mirror. My face was pale, drained, but my eyes looked different. Like something inside me had woken up. Something sharp. Something determined. I wasn't going to confront him. Not yet. Confrontation is emotional. Messy. Predictably. But surveillance. Surveillance is silent. Cold. Strategic. Robert always said I wasn't built for strategy. Tonight, I was going to prove him wrong. When Robert got home from work, he acted like nothing was strange. He kissed my cheek. Asked about dinner. Even laughed, forced but convincing enough to fool a stranger. But I wasn't a stranger. I heard the rehearsed rhythm in his voice. The pauses where guilt lived. The unspoken urgency beneath everything he said. Do you want to go out tonight? I asked casually. He froze. Only for a second. Barely noticeable unless you were looking. I can't tonight, he said. Late conference call. Again. You know how it is. I nodded with an expression I had practiced all afternoon, trusting, unaware, loving. Inside, a storm was building. He showered, dressed in the dark, expensive cologne he never wore for me, and said he'd be back late. Don't wait up, he added as he left. But this time, I didn't let that door click into silence. The moment he drove away, I slipped into my own car. And followed. He drove through Tampa's waterfront roads, the sunset washing everything in orange and gold. Traffic was light. I kept a safe distance. He didn't take the route to his office. Didn't go toward any gym. Didn't stop near any business district. Instead, he turned into a neighborhood I didn't recognize. Akyed one. Gated. Expensive. Hidden from the city. He typed a code into the gate. It opened. I waited until it closed fully, then parked nearby and climbed through the trees along the side fence. I know how that sounds: desperate, pathetic, obsessive. But when betrayal redecorates your life, logic becomes a luxury. On the other side of the gate stood homes that didn't look like houses, more like silent secrets wrapped in perfect landscaping. Robert parked in front of a white modern house with tall glass windows. He stepped out, straightened his shirt, checked his hair. Then he walked to the door. My breath caught as the door opened, and she stepped out. The woman from his office, the one with the navy dress, the one who laughed in ways I hadn't heard in years. Her hair was loose now, her smile relaxed, her hand reached for his sleeve with practiced ease. And then, she kissed him. Not a quick kiss. Not a question. A kiss that knew its place. A kiss that belonged. A kiss that had happened before too many times to count. My chest felt like something was crushing it from the inside. I wanted to scream. Wanted to run toward them. Wanted to tear something apart. But I couldn't move. Because what happened next froze every muscle in my body. After he kissed her, they stepped aside and someone else walked into view. A child. A little girl. Maybe 5 years old. With Robert's eyes. His exact eyes. She ran toward him shouting, "Daddy." My knees nearly buckled. I gripped the fence to stay upright. "Daddy? Daddy?" The woman laughed as the little girl leaped into his arms, wrapping her small hands around his neck like she'd done it 1,000 times. He held her like it was natural. Like it was routine. Like she belonged to him. I couldn't breathe. Robert didn't just cheat. He didn't just lie. He had another family, a home, a woman, a child, a daughter he never told me about. I watched as he carried the little girl inside, the other woman leaning her head on his shoulder like she was the wife and I was the stranger. My mind broke in that moment. Cleanly, permanently. Everything I thought I knew about my life was a carefully constructed illusion. And the man who built it had walked into another home, another life like it was nothing. I should have walked away. But instead, I followed them closer. Because what I discovered next, just minutes later, was even worse than the affair. Worse than the child. Worse than the lies. It was the moment I learned that the woman wasn't just his mistress. She was someone I already knew. Someone from my past. Someone I trusted once. Someone who had a reason to hate me. If you've ever felt the ground disappear beneath you, please subscribe. Don't wait until someone builds a secret life behind your back. And if you don't subscribe, go to the comments and tell me why. Maybe speaking your truth there will keep someone else from falling like I did. I don't know how long I stood there behind that fence, gripping the metal like it was the only thing keeping me upright. Maybe minutes. Maybe an hour. Time warps when your heart is splitting open. Robert's laugh drifted through the night air, warm, relaxed, domestic. A laugh I hadn't heard in years. A laugh he never used with me anymore. And that woman. The one holding the little girl's hand. The one who kissed him like she owned him. Her voice reached me next. Soft, sweet. Familiar in a way that made my skin prickle. Then she stepped into the porch light. And my world turned inside out. Glada. My former best friend. My college roommate. My maid of honor. The woman who vanished from my life years ago without explanation. The woman who stopped returning my calls. The woman who ghosted me so suddenly it felt like grief. She was here. With him. With a child that shared his eyes. My breath faltered. My scalp tingled. My knees went weak. Clara. Clara was Elle. Clara was the other woman. Clara was the mother of his child. And suddenly, everything made sense. Clara had always been beautiful. Effortlessly. The kind of woman who walked into a room and made people inhale without realizing it. Back in college, she joked that Robert had a crush on her when we first all met. I laughed it off. She always flirted with everyone. But the day before our wedding, she pulled me aside and asked, "Are you sure he's the right one, Mads?" I thought she was being protective. I thought she was being a friend. Now, I knew she was warning herself, warning him, warning no one. Everything blurred. My breath grew shallow. My heart kept beating only because it didn't know how to stop yet. And in that crushing silence, a thought came to me cold and slow. How long has this been happening? Not months. Not a year. Longer. Much longer. Possibly since before our wedding. I tasted something bitter in the back of my throat. Fear. Rage. Humiliation. I don't know. All I knew was that the truth was no longer something I was searching for. It was something pounding inside my skull like a war drum. I watched them through the glass windows. Clara moved around the kitchen with comfortable ease. Robert opened a bottle of wine I had bought for us. The little girl sat on the counter swinging her legs while he brushed hair from her face. It wasn't an affair. It wasn't a fling. It was a life. A life he built parallel to mine. A life I was never meant to see. I should have gone home. Should have left before I shattered completely. But pain makes you linger where you're breaking. I circled to the side of the house, moving through the shadows, desperate to see more, not because it would heal me, but because I needed it to hurt enough for me to act. And then, the next blow came. Inside the living room, framed on the wall, was a picture. Robert, Clara, and the little girl, smiling, matching outfits, beach background, a family portrait, something we never had. Because he always said, "Not yet, Mads. Work is too busy." Another lie. One of many. I pressed my hand over my mouth to stop the sound that tried to escape, part cry, part scream, part animal. And then a voice sliced through the night. "Madison?" I spun around. A man stood a few feet away. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Wearing gym clothes. Holding a leash but no dog in sight. His expression was a mixture of shock. And something else. Recognition. "You shouldn't be here," he whispered urgently. I stepped back, heart pounding. "Who are you?" He hesitated, looked toward the house. then back at me. "I'm a neighbor," he said. "I've seen you before." "Where?" "The hospital," he muttered. "2 years ago." "You visited him?" My stomach twisted. He knew Robert? He knew them? "Wait," I said, breath catching. "You've seen me with him?" He lowered his voice. "No. I've seen him with her. For years." "Years?" The word punched me. He glanced nervously at the house again. "You don't want to be standing out here," he whispered. "Trust me. They keep their secrets tight on this street." "What secrets?" I asked. His jaw clenched. He stepped closer. "I can't get involved. People disappear for less in that family." "Disappear?" Before I could question him again, he walked off quickly, practically jogging away. I stood frozen, chills crawling down my back. Disappear? Family? Secrets? What had Robert gotten himself into? Or born into? Because now, this felt bigger than betrayal. Bigger than cheating. It felt dangerous. By the time I made it back to my car, my entire body felt numb, like shock had turned my bones to glass. I got inside, slammed the door, and the tears finally came violent, unstoppable, the kind that steals your breath. I cried for the marriage I thought I had. For the friend I lost without explanation. For the little girl who had no idea she existed in a lie. For the woman I had become blind, trusting, painfully loyal. I pounded the steering wheel until my palms hurt. Let the scream rip through me until my throat burned. Outside, the Florida night was still. Indifferent. Unmoved by the collapse happening inside my car. And then my phone buzzed. A message. Same unknown number. Unknown. "You saw it, didn't you?" My breath hitched. "Me? Who are you?" This time, the reply came instantly. "Unknown. Someone who knows what he's capable of. Someone who doesn't want you to end up like the others." Pause. Dread. The others? My hands trembled as I typed back. "Me, what others?" The typing dots appeared, then stopped, then appeared again. Finally, "Unknown. Go home. Don't confront him yet. You're not ready for the truth." My heartbeat thudded painfully. "Me. Tell me what you know." A long pause. Then the final message. "Unknown." Clara wasn't the first. My vision swam. My breath stuttered. Everything inside me collapsed inward. Clara wasn't the first. Clara wasn't the only. How many lives had Robert built? How many lies had he funded? How many families existed behind those Wednesday nights? The unknown texter sent one last message. A picture this time. When I opened it, my blood ran cold. A photo, taken from a distance, of a small gravestone. And on it, etched clearly, in loving memory of Claytor, Emma Rose Aldridge. 2014-2019. Aldridge. Our last name. A child's name. A child I never knew existed. A child he never told me about. The moment I saw that gravestone, everything inside me shifted. This wasn't just betrayal. This wasn't just infidelity. This was a pattern. A history. A cycle. I wiped my tears, turned on the engine and stared at the glowing image on my phone. Who was Emma? Whose child was she? Why did she have his last name? And what happened to her? I was about to uncover a truth that would make the affair look merciful. If you've ever had your entire life rewritten in one night, subscribe. Don't wait until your reality shatters like mine did. And if you can't subscribe, go to the comments and tell me why. Maybe your story will help someone escape before it's too late. I don't remember driving home. I don't remember parking. I don't remember walking through the front door of a house that suddenly felt like a museum of lies. All I remember is staring at the photo of that gravestone. Emma Rose Aldridge. 2014-2019. 5 years old. Same age as the little girl in Clara's arms. My last name. His last name. A child erased. A child hidden. A child buried in silence. I should have collapsed. Fallen apart. Begged for answers. But instead, an eerie calm settled over me. The kind of calm that doesn't come from peace. The kind that comes from devastation so total. Your heart goes quiet. That silence inside me was new, sharp, focused. The part of me that loved him had just died. The part that needed answers was all that remained. I sat at the kitchen table long after midnight, lights off, phone screen glowing in front of me like a portal to hell. Who was Emma Rose Aldridge? Whose child was she? Why did Robert keep her hidden? Why did she die? And why? Did the anonymous person think I would end up like the others? Others. Plural. How many? I opened my laptop and typed the name into every search engine I could think of. Nothing. No obituary. No hospital record. No news mention. Dead at 5. And erased. Unless someone powerful wanted it erased. Someone like Robert. Someone with money. Connections. Motives. The silence was suspicious. Too clean. Too complete. Emma existed. I saw the gravestone. But why hide a child's death? It didn't feel like grief. It felt like cover-up. And the moment that thought hit me, I realized this wasn't about infidelity anymore. This was about secrets worth burying. When Robert came home around 2:30 a.m., I was still sitting in the dark. He didn't see me at first. He walked into the kitchen, humming as if he hadn't spent the night living a double life. He opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of sparkling water, and turned. His eyes landed on me. He froze. Madison? What are you doing awake? I forced my expression neutral. Calm. Small. Couldn't sleep, I said softly. He relaxed. A little too fast. A little too easily. He sat across from me, avoiding eye contact. Long night? I asked. He shrugged. Work. I didn't react. Didn't confront. Didn't accuse. Confrontation gives liars control. Silence takes it back. Is everything okay? He asked slowly. I nodded. Of course. He let out a breath, relieved. Relieved that I wasn't screaming. Relieved that I wasn't suspicious. Relieved that I wasn't awake. He had no idea I'd followed him. No idea I'd seen Clara. No idea I'd seen the child. And no idea about Emma. Good. Let him feel safe. People make mistakes when they feel safe. The next morning, he acted normal again. Breakfast. Suit. Kiss on the cheek. Routine. But while he was showering, something happened. The water shut off. A long silence followed. Then a soft, broken voice. His voice. I froze outside the bathroom door, hearing him whisper. I'm sorry, Emma. Daddy's sorry. I'm trying. I covered my mouth with my hand. He wasn't talking to me. He wasn't talking to Clara. He was talking to a ghost. Now the gravestone mattered even more. He had loved Emma. He had grieved her. But why hide her? Why bury her alone? Why remove her from public record? Why erase her unless he had something to do with her death? Or someone else did. And maybe he blamed himself. His whisper trembled again. I didn't mean for it to happen. A confession. A slip. A crack in the mask. My stomach twisted. Was he responsible? Or protecting someone? Or running from something? The questions piled up like stones on my chest. When he opened the door moments later, he jumped. Oh, Madison. You scared me. I forced a smile. Just grabbing my brush. He didn't know I had heard. Good. The more secrets he believed I didn't know, the more he'd reveal. After he left, I cleaned the house just to keep my hands busy pretending normal worked as a distraction. It didn't. While making the bed, something metallic slid out from under his pillow. A key. Small. Silver. Unmarked. Not for our house. Not for his office. Not for any place I recognized. It was the kind of key meant for something hidden. Something locked away. A safety deposit box. A storage unit. A hidden drawer. Or something worse. My pulse quickened. Whatever it unlocked was part of the truth. I tucked it into my pocket, heart pounding. This was my first real weapon. At noon, my phone rang, an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello? A soft inhale. A voice I recognized instantly. Madison. It's Clara. My entire body stiffened. She sounded nervous. Shaky. Not like the confident woman I saw last night. I need to talk to you, she whispered. Please. It's important. I didn't speak. Don't hang up, she rushed. I know last night I know you must have seen something. Understatement of the century. I can explain, she said. Her voice broke. Explain? Explain what? Years of betrayal? A secret child? A dead child? What do you want, Clara? I asked, my voice controlled. She hesitated. Meet me. Tonight. Somewhere public. Why public? Because I'm not safe, she whispered. And neither are you. A chill crept up my spine. Not safe from who? I asked. Another long silence. Then she said the last thing I expected. From Robert. My breath stopped. She lowered her voice even further. He isn't who you think he is. He never was. And I'm afraid he's starting again. Starting? What? Before I could ask, she whispered. Please, Madison. Meet me before he gets home. I'll tell you everything. Then the line went dead. I stood there with the phone pressed to my ear long after she hung up. Not safe from Robert? Robert, the man I married. The man who bought me roses on random Tuesdays. The man who rubbed my back when I had migraines. The man who held my hand during thunderstorms. That Robert? Or the other Robert? The one who lived a double life. The one who erased a child. The one who whispered apologies to a ghost behind a locked door. Were they the same man? Or had I only ever known one side? The side he wanted me to see? If Clara was afraid of him, should I be, too? At 6:17 p.m. As I was getting ready to meet Clara, my phone buzzed. Same unknown number as before. Unknown. Don't meet her alone. She lies when she's scared. And she's always scared. Another text followed immediately. Unknown. Whatever she tells you, remember this, he's worse than both of us know. I felt dizzy. Breathless. Worse? Worse how? Before I could reply, the unknown number sent one final message. Unknown. And Madison, don't bring the key. I froze. How did they know about the key? I hadn't told anyone. Hadn't taken a picture. Hadn't spoken about it out loud. Whoever was texting me was closer to the situation than I realized. Close enough to watch me. Close enough to know what I found. Close enough to know Clara's fear. Close enough to know Robert's secrets. And close enough to know that I was walking straight into danger. I left the house anyway. Because I needed answers. Because Clara held the key to the past. And Robert held the key to the future. But as I drove to meet her, a terrifying realization hit me. Whoever warned me. Whoever told me not to meet her alone. Whoever knew about the key. They were watching both of us. Which meant tonight wasn't just about truth. It was about survival. If you've ever felt trapped between two truths, wondering which one might kill you first, subscribe. And if you can't, go to the comments and tell me why. Your honesty might be the warning someone else needs. By the time I reached the restaurant, Clara chose a quiet waterfront place tucked behind palm trees and dim string lights. The sky had already darkened. Florida nights always had a warm heaviness to them. But tonight, the air felt colder. Sharper. Like the world knew something was about to break. I parked far enough away that no one would notice my car. Every instinct inside me throbbed with warning. The unknown texter's messages replayed like a pulse inside my skull. Don't meet her alone. She lies when she's scared. He's worse than both of us know. Don't bring the key. Who were they? Friend? Enemy? Someone in his circle? And what did they mean she lies when she's scared? I stepped out of the car, slipped the silver key into my pocket, and walked toward the restaurant. I wasn't going to show it to Clara. But I was bringing it. Because something deep inside me whispered that this key was the center of everything. Clara sat at an outdoor table tucked in the corner, her face partially hidden under a baseball cap, something she never would have worn back when she cared about appearances more than oxygen. She looked thinner, tired, haunted. But when her eyes met mine, I saw guilt first. Not fear. Not sadness. Guilt. She stood quickly. Madison. Hearing her say my name felt wrong. Like a stranger was wearing her voice. We sat across from each other. An empty table between us. A decade of betrayal hovering in the air. She opened her mouth to speak, but I raised a hand. Don't lie, I said quietly. Not tonight. Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. Okay, she whispered. I won't. But her eyes darted to the street behind me, scanning for something. Or someone. Is he watching you? I asked. No. A lie. Instant. Reflexive. Her fingers trembled on the table. Then why are you shaking? She froze. Tears welled in her eyes, though I couldn't tell if they were real or crafted. Madison, I didn't mean for any of this to happen. That's what every betrayer says. She flinched. Then, she whispered something that cracked the air. I didn't steal him from you. He came to me first. The words landed like a punch. My breath hitched. What do you mean? She looked down at her hands. It started the year before your wedding. He said he wasn't sure. He said you weren't ready for the life he needed. My mind spun. He kissed me, she whispered. I pushed him away at first. But then we kept talking. One thing led to another. I felt the world tilt. He promised me, she said, voice shaking. Promised that when the time was right, he'd leave you. My stomach twisted. The betrayal wasn't sudden. It wasn't new. It wasn't accidental. It was planned. Long-term. Sustained. Intentional. And Emma? I whispered. Clara's face crumpled. I never wanted Emma to. She stopped. Closed her eyes. Exhaled shakily. She wasn't supposed to die, she whispered. It was an accident. My blood ran cold. What happened, Clara? She shook her head. No. I can't talk about that. Not here. Why not? Because he'll hear, she whispered. He hears everything. The paranoia in her voice sliced through me. He never told me about her, I said, voice cracking. He never told me she existed. Clara wiped her face. He couldn't. You were the safe wife, Madison. The clean life. The public life. Her words twisted into my ribs. And Emma, she whispered, staring into the distance. Emma wasn't supposed to be born. My breath caught. What do you mean? That pregnancy was complicated. Dangerous. He wanted it gone. I refused. And when she was born, her voice cracked. She changed everything. The air seemed to thicken. How did she die? I whispered. Clara pressed both hands against her mouth as tears slipped through her fingers. I can't. Her voice broke. I can't say it. I don't want to remember. A sickening realization formed, slow and heavy. You think he did something, I whispered. Clara looked away. Silent. But her silence was an answer. Before I could question her again, her eyes widened, fixating on something behind me. Not someone. Something. Her phone. It lit up on the table. The screen showed a single incoming text from a number labeled, "And him." She snatched the phone as if it were a bomb. Don't read it, she whispered. Please, Madison. I shouldn't have met you. I shouldn't. But I reached across the table and grabbed her wrist. Clara. What aren't you telling me? She shook her head violently now. Panic rising like a tide. He said he'd kill me if I talked. My stomach dropped. Robert? I breathed. Clara's eyes filled with raw terror. You don't know him, Mads. You don't know what he's capable of. I know he cheated, I hissed. No, she whispered, gripping the table edge. You don't understand. He doesn't just cheat. He destroys. The wind stilled. Or maybe I stopped feeling it. What did he do to Emma? My voice was a thread, fraying. Clara looked up slowly, eyes swollen, face pale. Her lips parted. He. Glada. A voice cut through the night. I froze. She froze. Both of us turned. And there he was. Robert. Standing under the lamplight at the edge of the patio, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. Calm. Controlled. Cold. Hello, Madison. My blood iced. Robert, what are you doing here? He smiled slightly. I should ask you both the same thing. Clara inhaled sharply, a sound too close to a sob. I told you not to meet her, he said to Clara. His tone wasn't angry. It was disappointed. That was worse. He stepped closer. I instinctively pushed my chair back from the table. Robert, I said quietly. We need to talk. Yes, he murmured. We do. He glanced at Clara. Voice soft. Dangerously soft. Go home. I don't. Go home, he repeated, eyes narrowing. Not loud. Not violent. Just commanding. Clara stood as if pulled by strings, grabbed her purse, and hurried past him, not toward him. Around him. Like prey skirting a predator. She didn't look at me. Not once. When she was gone, Robert turned fully to me. Let's not do this here, he said. As my wife, you deserve privacy. He spoke like a man gently redirecting a conversation. Not like someone who had been exposed. That terrified me more than anything. Because he wasn't shocked, I knew. He wasn't scrambling. He wasn't defensive. He was prepared. He motioned toward the parking lot. "Let me drive you home." "No," I said quickly. "I have my car." He smiled. "Mads, please. Don't make a scene." "A scene? A scene?" My pulse raced. I said, "I'll drive myself." He paused. Something sharp flickered in his eyes. "Hidden. Quick." "But there." "Of course," he said gently. Too gently. We walked in silence. My heart hammered against my ribs. When we reached my car, he leaned on the roof beside me. "Madison, whatever Clara told you, it's not the truth." "What is the truth, then?" He exhaled. "She's unstable. She always has been." "You know that?" I didn't know that. He was rewriting history in real time. He stepped closer. "She told you something tonight. Something upsetting, something dangerous." I swallowed hard. "What did she say?" He tilted his head slightly. "I don't know. And that's what concerns me." His hand brushed my arm. I flinched. "Please don't," I whispered. He watched me carefully. And then, as calmly as if he were discussing the weather, he said, "Whatever you think you know, stop digging." My stomach dropped. Why? His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because digging into other people's graves never ends well." My breath froze. Graves. He knew. He always knew. And then he leaned in close enough that his breath touched my ear. "Emma's death was an accident. Let it stay buried." My body went rigid. My hands shook violently. He stepped back, smoothing his shirt. "Drive safe," he said softly. "I'll see you at home." Then he walked away. Calm. Unhurried. Like the conversation hadn't been a threat wrapped in a whisper. I sat in my car, shaking, as he pulled away. Emma's death. Buried. Accident. Stop digging. And then my phone buzzed. Unknown. "He followed you there. I tried to warn you." Another message. Unknown. "If you want answers, real answers, use the key tonight." My breath stilled. Unknown. But go alone. And whatever you do, don't tell him. I stared at the silver key in my hand. It glinted under the streetlight like something alive. A door to the truth. A door to danger. A door to everything he buried. And tonight, I was going to open it. If you've ever realized the person you loved was someone entirely different, subscribe. Don't let anyone's mask fool you like his fooled me. And if you don't subscribe, go to the comments and tell me why. Maybe speaking your fear out loud will keep someone else alive. The silver key wouldn't leave my hand. Even while I drove. Even while the night air pressed heavy against the windshield. Even while the unknown texter's messages replayed like a warning I couldn't silence. Use the key tonight. Go alone. Don't tell him. The truth was waiting somewhere in the dark. And I wasn't afraid anymore. I was beyond fear. I had reached the place on the other side, the hollow, steady, terrifying calm that comes when you lose everything you thought was real. The world outside blurred in streaks of streetlights. Florida at night was beautiful in a way that made the truth feel even uglier. Where was I going? I didn't know. But the key did. I could feel it. There were only a few possibilities. Banks, storage units, private offices. But with Robert? It could also be something far worse. By the time I reached the city, my hands were shaking. I pulled into a gas station parking lot, heart thudding. The unknown texter was still active, I knew it. I could almost feel eyes on me. I opened my phone. "Me, where does the key go?" The reply came fast. "Unknown. Look in his glove compartment." A chill shot through me. His glove compartment? Why there? He always kept his car immaculate, too immaculate, but his glove compartment was usually locked. I drove back toward our neighborhood, parked discreetly 2 streets down, and slipped through the shadows until I reached his car. It was dark, quiet, still. I used the spare house key to unlock his car door. My breath fogged in the stale air as I reached for the glove compartment. Locked. Then I remembered. He always left a tiny emergency key in the seat track. I reached under and found it instantly. The glove compartment clicked open. Inside was a single folded sheet of paper. And a photo. The photo made my breath stop. It was Robert. Standing outside a building with a sign that read, "Sundown Storage Unit 119. And written on the back of the photo, in his handwriting, "Keep quiet. Keep locked. Keep separate." I swallowed hard. Then I unfolded the paper. It was a rental agreement. For the storage unit. Signed under a false name. But the address belonged to Robert. The key in my pocket suddenly felt heavy. Unit 119. The place the unknown texter wanted me to find. The place Robert was terrified I'd never know existed. I closed the compartment, locked the car, and slipped back through the shadows. My heart pounded like footsteps behind me. The storage facility sat on the outskirts of town, quiet, isolated, fenced off with rusted wire and motion sensor lights. A place used for secrets, not belongings. When I pulled in, the night felt colder, quieter, as if even the air knew better than to make noise. Rows of metal doors stretched in both directions, numbers painted in fading white. 119 was near the back. I stepped out, gripping the key so tight it cut into my palm. Every instinct said leave. Every instinct said run. But pain pushes you forward in ways love never could. I walked toward Unit 119. Each step felt heavier. Each shadow felt sharper. Each breath felt louder. When I reached the door, my hand hovered over the lock. The metal was ice cold. My lungs filled. Emptied. Filled again. Please. Let this be something I can survive. The key slid in perfectly. As if it had been waiting for me. I turned it slowly. The lock clicked. The door rolled upward with a groan. It wasn't filled with boxes. Or tools. Or furniture. It was a shrine. A shrine to a life I wasn't part of. Photos lined the walls. Taped, pinned, arranged in careful rows. Photos of Clara. Photos of the little girl. Photos of Clara pregnant. Photos of their daughter in the hospital. On her first birthday. In the park. Pictures he never showed me. A life he lived without me. A life he preserved here, in secret. My eyes burned. My chest tightened. My knees wobbled. But the shrine wasn't the worst part. At the far end of the unit stood a set of metal shelves. And on them were documents. Files. Medical notes. Court papers. Bills. DNA tests. I stepped closer, heart hammering. The first document I lifted was a paternity test. Robert Aldridge, 99.99% probability of paternity. Subject, Emma Rose. I blinked, vision blurring. My stomach twisted. Beneath it was another document. A restraining order. Filed by Clara. Filed against Robert. I read it. Breath shaking. Threats. Aggressive behavior. Unpredictable reactions. Danger to child. My heart stopped. Clara had been scared. Not because of guilt. But because of him. Because he had hurt her. Threatened her. Endangered their daughter. Another paper slipped out of the file. A hospital report. Patient. Emma Rose Aldridge. Injury. Blunt force impact. Condition. Critical. My knees buckled. I grabbed the shelf to keep from collapsing. No. 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 I forced myself to read. Father present at scene. Cause of injury under review. My breath came in sharp, broken bursts. He hurt her. He hurt a child. His child. My vision blurred with tears as I reached for the next file. But a sound behind me froze my blood. A soft, steady exhale. A presence. A shadow stretching across the concrete floor. Someone was standing in the doorway behind me. I turned slowly. My body went cold. Because the man blocking the exit was Robert. He stood there in total silence. Expression blank. Eyes hollow. As if he had shed the last layer of humanity. "Madison," he said softly. Almost lovingly. "You shouldn't have come here." My heart hammered so loud it drowned out the world. "Why didn't you tell me about Emma?" My voice was barely audible. He stepped inside. Calm. Controlled. "Because monsters don't need to rush." "That wasn't your burden," he said quietly. "She was your daughter," I whispered. He nodded once. Almost proud. "She was." Then his expression darkened. "And she was taken from me." A chill ran through me. Taken? By who? He didn't answer. Instead, he looked around the room. At the photos, the files, the shrine. With a strange mix of grief and possession. "You shouldn't have seen any of this," he murmured. "What happened to her, Robert?" He tilted his head. She fell. My breath stuttered. No. That's not what the report says. His jaw flexed a flash of something violent. I said she fell. I stepped back. Stop lying, please. Just tell me the truth. He stared at me. Then he moved closer. And each step felt like a countdown. Madison, he said softly. You're not built for the truth. Yes, I am. No. He shook his head slowly. You break too easily. My throat tightened. Tears blurred my vision. What happened to Emma? I whispered again. His eyes darkened. A deepy, empty darkness. She cried too much. I gasped. And Clara blamed me, he said, voice trembling with anger. She took her away. She told people things. Lies. Stories. My pulse raced. Is that why she filed a restraining order? I asked. His eyes snapped to mine. You shouldn't have read that. You hurt her, didn't you? My voice cracked. His expression flattened. Cold. Dead. She shouldn't have run. I stepped back again. Until my spine hit the metal shelves. He kept coming. Step. By step. By step. You should have stayed out of this, he murmured. Everything was fine. Until you followed me. I was shaking. No part of me was steady. Robert, I whispered. Please. He raised a hand to silence me. You always said you wanted the truth. He smiled slowly. And now you have it. My heart pounded so violently I could barely hear anything else. I needed to run. I needed to scream. I needed anything. But he was blocking the only exit. And his next words almost stopped my heart completely. Where's the key? My blood iced. He knew. He always knew. Give it to me, Madison. I don't have one. Yes, he whispered. You do. He stepped forward. I pressed myself against the shelves. His voice dropped to a chilling whisper. Do you know what happens? When someone digs too deep. Into the wrong grave? My breath trembled. He leaned in close. They join the dead. My knees nearly buckled. But before he could reach into my pocket, a loud metallic crash echoed from outside the unit. Robert froze. Whipped his head around. Footsteps thundered toward us. Heavy. Fast. Determined. Then, the storage unit door slammed down from the outside, locking Robert inside with me. No! He roared, slamming against the metal. Open the door. But the door stayed shut. And a voice yelled through from outside. A voice I recognized instantly. Clara. Madison. Run. My breath seized. She continued banging on the metal. There's an emergency exit on the left side. Go. Now. Robert spun toward me, fury twisting his face. Don't you dare. But I was already moving. Heart racing. Legs shaking. Tears blurring my vision. I shoved past him. He grabbed my wrist. I twisted free. Hit the ground. Scrambled to my feet. And sprinted toward the emergency exit door as he screamed my name. I burst through the exit into the night. And Clara grabbed my arm, pulling me into a dead run toward her car. Get in, she cried. Hurry. I dove into the passenger seat. She slammed the gas pedal. And we tore out of the parking lot as Robert's enraged screams echoed behind us. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Because the man screaming behind that door was not my husband. Not anymore. He was something else. Something he'd hidden for years. Something he was done hiding. If you've ever looked into the eyes of someone you loved and realized they were capable of something unthinkable, please subscribe. Protect yourself. Protect your heart. And if you can't subscribe, go to the comments and tell me why. Your reason might be the warning someone else needs to hear tonight. The wind in Florida never felt so alive, cold, sharp, carrying whispers of everything I had lost and everything I had uncovered. Clara and I didn't speak much on the drive home. No words could fit the weight of what we'd survived. Only the hum of tires on asphalt, the distant sirens, and the soft ragged breathing that belonged to two women who had been to the edge of something terrifying and returned. When we reached my house, I realized the first thing I did was lock every door. Windows too. Even though Robert hadn't followed us, even though he couldn't. It was instinct. A warning my body had been waiting years to give. I sank onto the couch and let the silence swallow me. Everything had changed. I wasn't the same woman who had walked into his office that afternoon. I wasn't the naive, trusting wife who believed in roses on Tuesdays and soft-spoken apologies. I wasn't the woman who thought love was safe. I was something else now. 2 days later, the phone rang. Unknown number. Clara had insisted we block it. I hadn't. Madison, the voice said, low, cautious, almost human. It was Robert. I know what you saw, he said. I know you went to the storage unit. I didn't respond. I just listened. I never wanted you to see any of that, he continued. And yet, you did. You survived. I pressed my lips together. Not a word. You're stronger than I ever gave you credit for, he said quietly. And I'm not coming back. No threats. No pleading. No excuses. Just gone. And in that moment, I realized something terrifyingly liberating. He no longer had power over me. The cleanup. Clara and I spent weeks going through what Robert had left behind. The files, the documents, the photos, they all became tools, not evidence of grief, but evidence of survival. I contacted authorities carefully, strategically, with lawyers who understood the kind of man Robert was. He would face consequences. Not for cheating. Not for betrayal. But for what he had done to the innocent. And for the lives he thought he could control. It wasn't closure. It wasn't peace. It was balance. Standing in my bedroom mirror one morning, I didn't recognize the woman staring back. Eyes still soft but sharper. Heart still wounded, but stronger. Hands still shaking at times, but capable. I thought about Emma. The little girl who never got to grow up. The truth about her, the lies, the accident, the hiding. I whispered her name, alone. I see you, Emma Rose. I know now. And I promised. I promised her, Clara, and myself. I would never be blind to betrayal again. I would never allow lies to rule my life. I would never, ever be silent when someone hides a grave in plain sight. One evening, the phone buzzed again. Unknown number. You survived what most wouldn't. You're stronger than him. Stronger than both of us. Now, live like it. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I put the phone down, looked out at the ocean, and breathed. For the first time in years, the world didn't feel like it was on fire. It felt possible. Weeks later, Clara called. Madison, she said softly. I found something you need to see. She sent a photo. Robert, smiling. In another city, another identity, another life. But this time, he wasn't smiling at anyone I knew. He wasn't holding power. He wasn't a husband. He wasn't a father in anyone's life but his own. And for the first time, I felt a small, quiet justice. Not revenge, not violence, not obsession. Freedom. I learned that love can hide darkness. That betrayal can wear the mask of everyday life. That sometimes the people you trust most are capable of unimaginable deception. But I also learned this. You can survive. You can fight. You can reclaim your life. No one else can do it for you. No secret, no threat, no monster hiding behind a mask can steal your soul, unless you allow it. I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to rage. I allowed myself to rebuild. And now, I live for truth. For clarity. For survival. For Emma. For me. For anyone who ever thought they couldn't escape the shadows. If you've ever felt trapped by someone you trusted, subscribe. Learn to see the masks before they control you. And if you can't subscribe, tell me in the comments why. Your words might save someone else from the darkness.